and take your coffee break with me. Come and take your coffee break with me. Come and take your coffee. Come and take your coffee. Come and take your coffee break with me.
Welcome to Coffee Break with Candace. We're so excited you tuned in this week. I have an incredible guest. I know I say that every week, but it's true every week. And she is going to introduce herself and tell us more.
Thank you, Candace, for having me. I really appreciate you. And my name is Fareedah Shaheed. And what I do in very short terms is I help mothers protect their kids online. And creatively, I just started a podcast called The Accidental Arab, based off of my experiences living in Saudi Arabia as a Black American girl.
Oh my gosh, where do we begin? I'm so excited. Okay, so why don't you start where you want to start in terms of telling your story?
So really the cybersecurity portion does actually start when I was in Saudi Arabia, because a lot of how I base my business today actually deals with the experiences I had in Saudi. So in short, I moved to Saudi because my father got a job there, and so we lived in like an American compound where most Americans were there. And it was a very interesting experience. There's a lot of more expats inside of the compound, but when I went to school, I was one of the only Black Americans there. There's a whole long story in there, but I'm shortening it. I'm shortening it real good.
Well, no need to shorten it. I mean, honestly, I would love to hear more. This is so fascinating.
So there was two sections of the school. There was an English section where the main language was English, and then we learned French. So kind of like here where the main language is English, and then many people take Spanish or Mandarin or something like that. And so the main school was all in English, but there was like French. But when I was there, my mother kind of felt like if I'm going to be in Saudi Arabia, I probably should know the language. I should be fluent in something else besides English. She was very adamant on that. So she pulled me out of that school and put me into an all Arabic language school. And then the language that everyone else learned was more like, it was English or French. So most people knew three languages: Arabic, English, and French. That was the standard. Most people at least spoke 2 to 3 languages, most likely 3. And so that's what I learned there at the school. And that's when I became one of the only Black Americans in that school. And it taught me to protect my space and understand my space. And what I mean by that is that because I was the only one, I was different. They felt like when I walked in the room, they didn't feel like I was an actual American, because in their head, an American was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl. And what didn't fit my profile. I was like a dark-skinned girl, and I had my kinky hair, and I just did not fit the whole all-American image. And so I was ostracized, I was bullied. It was a really difficult period. I always had inner confidence, but that definitely rocked my center. And I had to figure out a space for me within that crowd, because usually you see in American movies where the most popular kids are the ones that look nice or they're, cheerleading or jock or whatever. But there it was based off of your tribe, it was based off of your family. And sometimes based off of how much money you had, but most likely your tribe and family, how influential they were, because most people had money in the school. And it was interesting because I just did not have a place there. So I decided to create a space for people who didn't have a space, people who were outcasts, people who they were bullied, they were too shy, they were nerdy or whatever. And we created our own space. And I now call this like the understanding space, where all of us understood that we're all human and we all can learn and grow. We're not building each other. We're not taking advantage of each other. And that ended up growing into, once I left Saudi Arabia and I came back to the States for college, that ended up being the foundational principle of what I did everything in my life with, right? So when I went to cybersecurity, I decided to focus on small businesses. I was in threat intelligence and security awareness. And threat intelligence is basically understanding what's going on in the cyber world. And security awareness is telling people how to protect their information, their money, their kids, their business, practical information. And I use the understanding space concept to teach people cybersecurity, because many people were outcasted from technology. They're, you're saying, oh, you're too old for technology, or you're not technical, you must be dumb, you must be stupid, you're not understanding, or how can you not know how to protect your little online boutique, or how did a criminal or a predator go after your child, you should be a better mother. So it's those type of things that are narratives that are spoken in the tech community. And when I was in tech, I gave me flashbacks to my experiences in Saudi being an outcast. And so I was like, okay, I created, this wasn't really conscious. I just kind of put puzzles together. You think when you look back at life, you put puzzles together. And I realized that I should create an understanding space for people who are non-technical, who wanted to protect their family and businesses online. And that was the foundation of my company. So that's long story short.
Not really a long story. It's just very interesting how you took this experience that occurred early in your life and from that created your business.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, no, that's really, really amazing.
So my experiences there was, the type of racism I experienced was very interesting, because I really felt a kinship with some of the stories I was listening to from the Jim Crow era. So when I
Interesting.
was growing up, my mother did not want me to leave my Black identity. She felt like I really needed to be solid in who I was because of what I was around, and she could tell that it was getting to my head because I didn't feel like I was beautiful. I felt like I was worthless. I was going through a lot. So she made a very, very intentional effort to surround my childhood with Blackness. And so she would take certain things away from my childhood so that I didn't have a certain mindset. So for instance, in our house, we did not have Disney. There was no Disney princesses allowed in our house. She didn't want a concept of like some man coming in and saving damsel in distress and like fairy tale type thing. She just didn't want that in my head.
I will say amen to that. Okay, carry
Yes.
on.
Amen, right. So I never grew up with this fairy tale, and I actually was around real royal people. So I never thought that princess and princess was just like this, fantastical thing. They're just regular people who had a lot of responsibility because they got a lot of money and they're in a royal family sometimes. And so my view of the world was quite literal and quite, it was not, fairy tales and all of that. However, I had a huge imagination. So I was always playful. I was always myself. And so she definitely put different books inside of my life where I learned about the first Black inventor of this or the first woman to do this. So it was all centered around Black woman or Black experiences, and how I can see myself within that and the power that we have as Black people. And I always knew that I could do whatever I wanted to do. Even though I felt a certain way about myself, I always knew that if I wanted to take whatever career path I wanted, I would be the best at that because I can be. And that rooted myself through all the experiences of people not wanting to sit next to me because I was Black. People didn't want to touch me. They didn't want to share their school supplies with me. It was
Oh my
a whole
goodness.
thing. And
Uh-huh.
so that foundation within the household helped me get through school because I had some inner pride, even though I wasn't conscious of it. It was subconscious, which is why I believe
Sure.
that even if you're going through such a terrible time, if you have a foundation of confidence or you have a household that's loving and caring, it helps you get through that and heal through it. And you're still affected by it and it still hits you to the core, but you have a foundation to hold those feelings instead of all the walls breaking down. And that upbringing has tremendously helped me throughout my entire life, because when I walk into a room, I don't see that I'm young. I don't see that I have a scarf on. I don't see that I'm Black. I don't see that I'm a woman. I know that, but I'm operating in my own bubble. I'm like, I'm here to do something. I'm here to bring value. And so I'm not very conscious of it all the time. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. It really depends on the situation. But I'm just more of, okay, what's my goal? How do I bring value? And then people go, oh, you're really young. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true. And some people ask me, they might ask me my age and it'll take me a couple seconds to remember because I'm like, that was the last time I thought about how old I was. So just living in a bubble.
So at what point after college did you say, I want to have a cybersecurity business and I want to help moms protect their kids?
Well, to be frank, it's the reality of corporate.
Okay.
Like I thought I'd be in corporate for 10, 15 years. I knew I was going to start a business. So one of the foundations my mother put in my life, my mother and my father, was starting a business. It was no question.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it was you're going to do it. It wasn't even it wasn't forced, but it was just an expectation. It's kind of like how many people expect their kids to go to college. You're not thinking, or they expect their kids to finish high school. You're not thinking, oh, I'm being forced. It's just, that's the reality. You're going to finish high school. You're going to finish college. You're going to get a job. There's no question. So starting a business was just a no question. So if I said, hey, I think I like this water bottle. Oh, you can start a business on it. Or I'd be like, oh, I like this, but you can start a business. So
I am living for that. So good.
whatever I said, she's, oh, that would be a business. That would be a business. And so anytime I got too caught up in the corporate world, she's like, okay, but remember, you have to start a business. You have to figure out where can you use your skills for something. And I used to get really annoyed in the first few years because I was like, I just want to focus on corporate. She's like, no, focus on corporate. Make sure you're doing really good on that. But also, in the meantime, still think about it, because it's better for you to think about the business when you don't need it than having to rely on a paycheck.
Yeah.
So she's like, just think about it now. She's like, you don't have to go file an LLC right now, but just at least think about it.
Not today, but next week.
Right. You're going to have to.
Okay. Maybe I should have had your mom come on with you, because my goodness, what an amazing influence. Wow.
Oh, she's a powerhouse. She wrote like over 25 books. She's a powerhouse. And so,
oh my goodness,
she's just
overachiever.
A whole thing. And of course, she's been on me about a book too. She's like, wait,
she's right. No, she's right. But oh my goodness, this is incredible. So she reminded you of the need for you to start a business. Your parents did.
Correct. And it wasn't even in the horizon, because I felt like I was at that time when I first entered the corporate world, I was like 19 or something, 18 or 19.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've done nothing with my life. Like, seriously? Yeah, I'm going to end this right now so I can start to work on me. Like, seriously? Wow. Okay.
Yes, I thought, oh no, like I can't do that now. No one's going to take me seriously. In the security world, you need to have 10 plus years. You need to have all these certifications. You need to you have a master's degree, PhD. I just felt like you needed a lot. And so that was one of the biggest barriers for me. And I thought I need to be more technical. I need to be just bigger and better in everything. So I kind of put that in the back of my head. But then while I was working in corporate, I was teaching, doing lunch and learns. And I had different executives come up and say, no one has ever mentioned security or talked about security the way that you do. No one broke it down the way you did. No one has a passion for it like you did. Like, we really like what you're doing. Can you do it again? I had a lot of people pull me aside and go like, you don't belong here. And I remember one woman said that, and she said, I hope you don't take offense to that. I was like, okay, then I'm gonna take offense, because so like, I hope you're like, okay, what you gonna say? Why didn't you prepare for it? Who am I gonna rant to? You're like, you have the number. Like, what'd you say? Okay, let me rant. But she said, she said, you don't belong here, but not in the way that it's not that you don't fit in. It's that you're meant for something bigger. And
oh, that's so powerful.
It was
wow.
Really, this was before I even thought about my business. Like, I was even nothing. And she said, like, what you're giving corporate, they can't hold what you have, and you're meant to fly, and you have to do something bigger and better, because the world needs to see who you are, because you're going to make a lot of impact. And she said, I know that you think, oh, I'm really young and I got this, nice paying job, at least for being that young, nice paying job. And I'm here, and I'm one of the only Black, girls in this building, because it's full of, white guys.
Sure.
You think that, oh, you made it, but she's like, this is nothing to you. Like, what you have in your future, this is minuscule. It's just nothing. And you're bigger than this, and I need you to see the bigger picture. And she's just like, you just think about something, figure out a way for you to do something to impact people. And I remember thinking, okay, and 2 weeks later, I ended up thinking about starting my business, and I met some businesswomen. I went to a couple conferences, and then I got inspired to start my business and invest at a high level myself. So I was very used to I've always been okay with investing in myself. It never was a question, because for me, and it was really interesting, psychology is people will spend thousands and thousands of dollars on college, and they won't blink. But when it comes to spending a couple thousand on a coach, they're just like, oh no, that's too much money, right?
True.
And so in my head, I'm like, well, my coaches, my business coaches or my mentors, they're my college. So if it's required for me to spend X amount of dollars to have someone help me with my business, I wouldn't blink to do it. And that means I was most like always going to be the youngest person in the room, because many people really didn't do that. And I just felt like college was a waste of my money in our field, because cybersecurity isn't something you need to go to college for. It's just a nice to have type thing.
How did you get comfortable like this in your own skin?
There's two answers. There's two truthful answers.
Okay. Oh, we want both of them.
What is like it people think it's overused, but it's God, right?
Yes.
Nothing could happen. He just decided that this person and this person, this person, this person, these can be millions or billions of people, will get X, Y, and Z. And it is because he decided, and that's why. That's it. There's no explanation. That's it. And he just decided that I was one of the ones to get one little part of something, because I was made to make an impact on somebody in my own particular way. And he just decided that. The technical answer is a whole lot of books and support system.
So he gave you a gift, and you did everything you were supposed to do with it by getting the education, the tools, and reading and learning and all that, and using the gift he gave you in this amazing way.
Exactly. Yes. And a lot of prayers, every single step was a prayer. Like there's something in Islam called like the Isahada prayer, and it's a prayer of decision, where every time you're going to make a decision, you say this prayer. So I make that prayer for every little thing. People think I'm crazy. I do it for, of course, what school I'm going to go to, if I want to talk to a particular guy, if I want to go on a social media, if I'm going to go on a dating app, if I'm going to like buy this particular thing or a coaching program or start a business, like any little thing or big thing. If I'm going to play a certain game, because I'm a huge gamer, you can probably see like the headphones in the background, huge gamer, right? So if I decide I'm going to play a game, I pray over that as well. And people think that it's something that's really like, you're thinking too much about certain things. But I believe that people are thinking too little of every action that they take. Because
that's good.
A simple game that I played actually transformed my entire career. And I believe, honestly, it's hitting me right now, because I prayed over that, God blessed me while I was playing it, even if I was just messing around and joking and having fun. Not especially because, and the reason why I say that is one of the biggest games I play is League of Legends. And League of Legends is a huge game, and people earn millions of dollars or 6-7 figures playing the game if they're really good at it. It's like esports, like electronic sports type thing. And that game became the subject of my first article on the internet, and it was called "The Lessons from League of Legends," and basically how we can solve the biggest cybersecurity problems using the game.
Interesting.
And that's what my first article was. And the reason why I published it was a mentor of me told me you should publish it, because cybersecurity is full of geeks and nerds, so they're going to understand gaming and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do it. And then,
I love it.
And then so one of the organizations of cybersecurity, they contacted me and said, hey, can you do a keynote? And I decided to do my keynote, my first cybersecurity keynote, because I did keynotes before, but not in cybersecurity, on the exact same thing, that how the game can help solve the biggest biggest cybersecurity problems. And the keynote was so well received, and the guy sat down with me and said, this is one of the best keynotes he's ever had in his conference, or he's ever heard in any other conference. And I was really surprised.
That's incredible. Wow.
Exactly. And that was what led for many, many more doors to be open, because I was using my experiences of gaming. And so for me, it's those small little things. You don't know what a prayer could protect you from or give blessings to something. It can be something small, whether there was a predator who's going to be on your dating app profile and they were deciding to stalk you, but because you said a prayer, even if they tried to do it, it protects you from the worst of it. Or even if something did happen and there was a predator or was a stalker or was a hacker, it wouldn't have been as bad if you didn't. So there's these little tiny things that you're getting protection from when you think of everything bigger than other people actually think it is.
So tell us the day you opened your company, tell us what you do, and then maybe share a tip for parents.
Yes. So I opened up my company at first to help small business owners and families And then now I moved into just a sole focus on family, since I believe that's just more part of my story and what my audience needed and wanted. They kept they're begging out, they're like,
Sure.
can you please focus on kids? So I decided to focus on kids because that's my experience with gaming and social media. And so what I do right now is I help mothers protect their kids online through a community-based membership. And that's something that I'm so extremely happy about, because there's not a lot of information for parents who are non-tech savvy, who have no idea about this digital parenting age. So many kids are virtual learning, they're at home, social media, gaming. And so it really provides them a space to ask questions, to learn a little bit more, to get access to different experts that we're going to be bringing in. And that's essentially what I do. The biggest tip is really focusing less on technology and focusing more on your relationships and your connection with your kids. And it sounds very hypocritical to say that as someone in cybersecurity, but I believe technology comes second. I don't believe it comes last. It's definitely needed. Parental controls, parental monitoring, security systems, privacy systems, very, very important, very needed. You need to understand it, which is why we go through it in the membership. However, the foundation of everything is a connection with your child, so that they understand that they can come to you if something happened. They understand that they're not in the wrong. So many times when a bad thing happens online, they feel like they will be punished for it, versus the parents will be on their side to help them through the incident or the situation. Understanding that the online world isn't a big bad world, it's just a world. So raise your kids the same way we raise them for the regular world, we raise them the same way for the digital world. And so because the digital world is kind of seen as this different thing, we're not really viewing it as a portal, but it is a portal. You're going to meet other people. You're going to go down the street, so to speak. You can buy other things. You're going to go to different places. So it's important to kind of have a mindset of we're preparing them for two different types of worlds. And you can put it together, but never put digital to the side. And I definitely would say that to prioritize having a talk with them, to have the tech talk. So similar as we have the birds and bees, you need to have the tech talk.
No, that's really good.
It needs to have reminders. It can't be like, oh, I told them about the tech talk when they first went online. It's fine. No. They need reminders to not share their personal information, reminders not to take pictures of random people, reminders not to put every single thing online, reminders not to share where they live and their full name, and all of those type of things should not be put online. And a lot of kids are doing that.
Are they really?
Oh yes, 100%. Sharing their passwords, it's a lot.
I didn't realize that was a thing. So.
Yes. And a lot of parents inadvertently do it as well, because they don't know. They're so proud of their kid. They take a picture of their report card or their graduation picture or the first day of school or things like that, or the hospital they were born in. And it gives too much information outside in the world.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
For my company, if people want to learn more about it, they can go to safekidsmovement.com and they'll learn a little bit more about what's there and what they need to be aware of. Right now, it's one of the most important times to start thinking about security and safety for your kids, because the online crimes against children have doubled since the pandemic. And it's
my goodness, that's terrible.
It is terrible, because so many more kids are online, so many more predators are online, because they know that kids are more online now. And it's not just about gaming or social media. A lot of these predators or hackers are actually trying to get into virtual learning systems as well. And they have done that to many different classrooms and kids. So even if your kid is not gaming, or they're not on social media, this affects them as well.
That is scary to think of them infiltrating the virtual learning centers. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, oh my goodness.
Oh no, yeah, it's not, and many people don't know. Like, it's something that it's a whole completely different world, and it's similar to. That's why I say we have to view as a world, because when we most of us would not let a 3-year-old kid wander the streets at 12 a.m. In the morning to go get chocolate or something at a liquor store or something. We just wouldn't do it, because we know no one would do that. But we do the same thing when they're online. And we forget, because it's a world, it's a portal, it's a virtual, and in many aspects, many of these worlds actually have these characters that walk about a certain world and meet other people. And they are doing it at 12 a.m. at night, 12 a.m. in the morning, or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It doesn't really matter. It's a portal. And I don't say this to say the online world is terrible. It actually, like I said, is a world. So you're going to meet some really nice people. There's going to be, the nice neighbor. There's going to be someone who's going to change your life. There's going to be a teacher that's just fantastic. So it really is. 99.999% of the people that have changed my life today, I have all met in the online space, each and every one of them.
Amazing.
So I never say that the online world is a bad place. I just say you want to, don't do it unsupervised. And if you do, that means that they're older, they're mature, they're on their own way, they're about to go to college. You know, you're already releasing them in the real world. You can release them in the digital world.
That's just such Fareedah, thank you so much. It's such incredible information. Wow. I have to breathe after that. Like, oh my goodness.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes, really. But I also want to hear about your podcast. I'm totally geeking out about that. Tell us more.
The podcast is called The Accidental Arab, and it is based off of my experiences growing up as a third culture child in Saudi Arabia. And it's not just going to be my own story, even though the first few episodes will be. However, very, very soon, actually, I'll be bringing guests who have, whether they lived in Saudi Arabia, but they have a third culture experience and they have a different view. And it allows them to, it created a world where they didn't know where they belonged. And so we're going to be talking about their stories.
Wow. We're going to switch topics, and we're going to do my segment called Who Said That, where I will give you a quote and a clue, and if you can tell me who said that, I will donate a modest amount to the charity of your choice.
Sounds good.
And so the quote is, creativity is intelligence having fun.
Ooh. I'm going to borrow, I don't know who said that.
So
I'll borrow that quote. Okay. Creativity is intelligence having fun. I'm about to tweet that tonight. If you see that, act like you don't know.
Okay. And so I'm going to give you a clue, and then you can tell me who you think said that. But this is a German physicist who developed the theory of relativity, one of the two pillars of modern physics alongside quantum mechanics. His work is also known for its influence on the philosophy of science. He is best known to the public for his mass energy equivalence formula, E equals mc squared.
Okay.
A German scientist. I love that you're creating your own music. That's great. That's great. Yes.
I'm always a Jeopardy fan. Okay. Albert Einstein?
Yes.
Oh!
So any final words before we wrap up?
Final words, you're absolutely awesome. I appreciated this interview. And to everyone else who's listening to this, to not overwhelm yourself with the cyber world, to take it step by step. There are people here to support you, to give you guidance, whether it's me, whether it's someone else. I'm not jealous as long as you get the information, as long as your family is protected and safe. That's what I care about. You do not have to overwhelm yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. Step by step. 75% secure is better than 10% secure because you're overwhelmed.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, wonderful, wonderful way to end. Thank you so much, Fareedah, for being on Coffee Break with Candace, and come back anytime.
Thank you. I will. Appreciate you.
Thanks.